Welcome to the Fearlessly Fertile Podcast, episode 332. Fearlessly Fertile Miracle Papa, Matt. They said he was the problem, but he was truly all in for the solution. Loves, I'm so excited to be here with you this week as we dive into another Miracle Papa episode. And this time you are going to meet Matt. Those of you that have ever participated in my Fearlessly Fertile Full Throttle 3-day intensive know his wife, Nicole, from her sharing her testimony there. Well, you're going to be able to hear from Matt this week. And what makes Matt's story really interesting is they thought it was all him as they were on their journey. And he went through different ups and downs with all of that. But when these two, Nicole and Matt, came together, they found out that it was kind of a little on both sides. But the coolest thing ever is that their love, their commitment, and their shared vision for their family is what brought them through. So you're going to be hearing Matt share just all of these interesting aspects that we don't really get to see very often from a man's perspective. So I hope you absolutely love Big Daddy Matt and take some of the powerful lessons, the real, just incredible lessons that he learned on his journey with Nicole to their beautiful baby boy. So here is my conversation with the amazing Matt. Matt!
Hello.
I am so excited to be having this conversation with you. Part of the reason why we're doing this is because we want to shed light on what's really going on. Because we tend to hear a lot, I mean, at least on my podcast, of all these incredible success stories from women and families that were struggling. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we as women can get wrapped up in our own story, and we can sometimes be projecting something completely different onto our partner when our partner is having their own unique experience. So I think it's really kind and really generous that you're here to shed some light on your unique experience as a man on this journey. So, and you're married to the incredible Nicole. She's amazing. Well, I'm super curious. What was it like for you when you discovered that having a family was not as simple as you might have thought it would be?
Yeah. You're growing up thinking one thing, you guys sleep together and a baby happens, but little did we know how hard that is. We kind of found out, we got married, we wanted to wait a couple years, and we did. And then, life got in the way a little bit. And as soon as we started trying, we said, wow, this is kind of harder than we thought. And, getting the news that, I went and got checked out and got the news from the doctor, and that, like, there's some stuff going on with me. And I was just kind of taken back, and it just like, took a day to process that. And, she kept checking in, how you doing? And I just need a little space to process this and see what's going on. And it was tough. It's, and talking to a lot of coworkers about it, it gets you nowhere. It was like a roadblock, because everybody I know went out, slept together one time, had a baby, slept together again, had another baby. So people I would try to ask questions about, it got nowhere. Like there was no support, no backup talking about it. But for me, it was hard, and I had to internalize a lot of it. And me being, I guess, the person that I am, more mechanical, always trying to troubleshoot things in my head. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Instead of talking to people about it. And when I finally opened up to Nicole about it, she's like, yeah, let's see what we can do. Go talk to some other people and see what's going on. So you can't just stick it in, by yourself and handle this problem. You definitely need somebody to talk to. And luckily I had a great partner that I could talk to and confide in, and we can come up with solutions together. So having that really, really, really helped. But if I had to sit there by myself and go through this, it's tough. It really is tough.
What were some of the thoughts going through your mind, aside from maybe confusion and shock? Because I think a lot of men who find out that they have something going on for themselves, or like, oh shit, because a lot of times we hear it mostly being about the woman, right? Everyone's looking for somebody to blame, right?
Yeah.
When it's actually both of us ultimately.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you?
I was just trying to go through, play the memories over the last 10 plus years. Like, was there something that I did that caused this? And I mean, of course, things that we do, environment that we work in, of course, there's things that can cause this. But once I got to the realization that there's nothing I can do about the past. It's what do we do moving forward? That's what changed my mentality about it. And then once we realized, hey, stop dwelling on the past. Let's move. How do we move forward? How do we fix this? What do we do going forward? Who do we talk to? What do we do? So that's kind of where I was at with it. And once I told her that and she was on board, and all right, where we go? What do we do next?
Wow. Okay.
I think the biggest hurdle we saw was doctors aligning with how you feel and your vision of what's supposed to happen. The first doctor we saw, it was her OB, and we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but it made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Just listening to her talk, I felt like, yes, I knew there was something wrong with me. I get it. I accept that. Yeah. We all do. But hearing her speak, it's just, you get bad feelings about that. So it was tough to listen to some of these doctors. And was the hardest part of the journey, was finding a doctor and talking to somebody that had the same vision and same path forward that you felt comfortable with. Because we would come back from a doctor's appointment, and I would just be so pissed off and just wanted to go pound a couple beers and a couple shots and just like, F it, like I'm done, I guess, but can't do that. You can't do that all the time, at least.
Well, what was tough about it for you? Because I think for everyone that's different. What was it for you?
The pride and humility part of it, where, there can never be anything wrong with me. Accepting that was the hard part. That was really the hard part. And I feel like a lot of us people, we all have problems with that too. And that's what I think society in general has problems with, accepting, hey, I screwed up, or something, that there is something wrong with me. A lot of people say, no, it can never be me. It can never be me. But, take a look in the mirror sometimes. So that was the hardest part for me. And once I overcame that, then I felt completely different.
How do you think you overcame that? Because that's actually it takes a very sophisticated sense of self and humility, Matt.
Yeah.
To be able to say, hey, okay, there's clearly some things that I need to be working on here.
Yep.
What helped you get to that place? Because it's super easy to just get stuck. A lot of people just get stuck in blame.
Distraction. I think I know people don't like to hear this, but you need a distraction. For some people it's working out. Some people it's going in the garage, tinkering on a project. You just need to separate sometimes. So, at the time we were remodeling our house, and, it was a very stressful time when we first started, because I work 6-7 days a week sometimes. And then after work, after a 10-hour shift, I was at my house, doing most of the remodel work. So I was there. It got very stressful for that time. But the time that I was there, I was able to forget about everything. And that's when, you realize that you're not as good as you are, but you just keep trying. And, I had so many people tell me, I was a little more ambitious than I thought I was, getting into some projects. But, I just said, don't worry. You know what, guys, just I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And then just stick your head down, keep grinding away. And then eventually, something beautiful comes out of it. And that's how I felt, just the distraction, and just keep going, just keep hard work, sweat it away, do whatever you're going to do, working out, work on a project, go for a run, whatever it is. Find that distraction, something that's going to get you away from that for 10 minutes, half hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. And let that, over time, that all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, I can do this. I can do this. So there is something, wow, we have a problem with me, but that's all right. We just need to get through this. How are we going to get through this? And then once you ask yourself, how are we going to get through this? Then that's when things open up for us. When we say, how are we going to do this? So
in what you're saying, there was something, I think there's something really interesting about what you just said, because it sounds like it was an upward movement. Like, like there's something that's going to work out for us. We're going to find a way. Where do we go from here? As opposed to, where do we go from here? Nothing's ever going to work for us. Like, it sounds like a very, there's a sense of optimism in what you're saying. Do you think that's true?
Yes. And I'll be honest with you, Roseanne, I felt a lot of the optimism come after my wife went through your program. And I'll be honest with you, because when I would see her just start, it lit a fire in her belly, and all of a sudden I see her change. So that's what kind of sparked a little change in myself. So that bled over. So worth the money on that one.
Well, so talk to me about that, because that's an interesting thing, because a lot of women can be skeptical. Like, oh no, if my man finds out that I want to do this weird woo-woo coaching program, that, I've finally lost the plot, I've lost my mind, this is a cult. And they can't see that what they do to improve themselves has a 100%. Ripple effect.
Yes.
Like, say more about that, because you're clearly a shining example of that.
Yeah. If you knew my wife prior to having our little guy, she's, as a teacher, she's got the summer breaks off, and she would never get out of bed anytime before 7 a.m. Trying to get her out of bed before 7, 8 a.m. impossible. It would take an act of Congress. So when she said that she wanted to do this coaching class where you get coached, I said, yeah, whatever's going to help you, because obviously you're going to do something that's going to help yourself. And I got stuff going on that I'm hoping will help me. And to see her get up every morning at, I think here it was like around 7 a.m. to go log in. And I said, man, like, I've never seen you get out of bed before, this early. I'm up early, 5:30 every morning, and to see her get up that early and just drag herself out of bed and make it happen. And then I just started seeing the slow progression of change, just like basically like, fuck it. I don't give a shit what anybody says, because there's so many people, so many negative people out there that are saying, it's too much work. Come on, man. Like, do you really want to go through all that? It's a lot of money. That's a lot of time, a lot of effort. And it's like, yeah, she really started saying basically like, yeah, fuck you. We're doing this. And I saw the change in that, and it's like, whoa, man, made you think and just take a step back. And I go, wow, something's going on here. I like it.
I appreciate like how open you're being about this, because a lot of men will also find themselves being a little skeptical. It sounds to me like you were seeing things happen for Nicole that maybe you hadn't expected. Like, do you know of any off the top of your head that come to mind? What was different in her?
She would tell people no. Like, she was not used to, I don't know if I should say that, but she's going to kill me. But she could never say no to her family, and just sit back and okay. And then after that, no, she started speaking up a little bit more, telling people like what was on her mind. And I was like, wow, I kind of like this. Maybe we should tone it back a little bit towards me at least. But I loved it because there's so much negativity of people, like I said, people are saying, it's too much work, too much. Like, do you really want to do it? And it's yes. Yes. And when you see the confidence in, yes, we're doing this, then that's kind of like all right, we're doing this. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that had to have been at some level comforting to you, because when you get this diagnosis and you're frightened and you're worried that this dream that you guys have of having a family might not happen, having a partner that is very clear, very disciplined, and being in a place where they can think at a higher level than the problem, right? Because at some point you have to get above the problem. You have to see beyond the problem. Was it comforting to you to be in a place where she's at least, we're doing this?
Yes. The transformation with that, and then going to see different doctors. And after talking to different doctors, I don't know if you know the story, but we were 3 rounds failed IVF. And then the 4th round, we got the winner. But that was going through a doctor for the first 3 rounds and then going to see another doctor. And then to hear her just start the questions she started asking to these doctors. And one doctor basically after meeting us for 5 minutes said, well, you should consider a surrogate. And just the look on her face and like, no, we are not doing that. No, we are going to keep trying. And to see the confidence, I was able to kind of just do this, take a step back for once, which was actually pretty nice because I feel like I'm always the one up front. But to hear her take charge, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I love her. This is awesome. I don't know what happened to you, but why couldn't this happen sooner? But just hearing the confidence level with the doctors, and it just, no, we're not doing that.
Wow. Well, you got to see this. You started to see that feminine leadership come out.
Yes.
Because, I know Nicole well enough to know that she's not going to try to emasculate you in this process, but she was very clear, because I know the story very well, that she's like, nope, this is going to work.
Yep.
So what was it like for you, though? Because that's not a traditional position to be in, challenging people in white coats. Most of us were not conditioned to do that. So what was that like for you to be in a place where you're actually questioning that kind of authority?
I think, we're not going to get political on this, but I think COVID brought a lot of questions out and made us really start thinking, do we really trust these doctors? We had too much faith in doctors, I feel like, before COVID. And going through this process, we were scared, so we had a lot of faith in doctors. And talking to these people, it made you take a step back and be your own advocate. And I don't think without her going through this program and getting modified and changed, I guess you would say, in her thinking, I don't think that we would have been in a position to question the white coat authority and be our own advocates. And that's unfortunately the society we're in. We have to be our own advocates because nobody's going to do it for you. Everybody wants to tell you this is how you're going to do it. The first doctor I went and said, hey, have this surgery. You're going to have plenty of babies. Don't even worry about it. So I trusted, had a surgery, didn't do a damn thing. It just didn't do a damn thing. And then we go to see the fertility specialist, and he said, that was a waste of time. Why did you even go there and do that? So you hear things like that and you're just, okay, well, it kind of makes you question things. So what did we just waste our time for? What did I waste the recovery for? What did I waste all of that for? Nothing. Wow. But we feel like we had to go through that in order to be better parents. I feel like we are better parents and better people for the journey that we went on. And I don't think we would be in the position in life that we are if we did not go through those trials.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because you do these 3 rounds of IVF.
Yes.
And you're going into the 4th, and you see these changes in Nicole. You are post-surgery, and, you guys found a doctor that you trusted. Did you guys kind of decide ahead of time how that cycle was going to go? Did you guys have a huddle or anything like that? Did you guys get in front of this and kind of decide how you were going to approach it?
The 4th round, we went and saw a new doctor at that point, and then we were just so comfortable. And the doctor straight up told us, how do you guys know so much about this process? This is very sad that you guys know this much. But meeting with him, he was just, hi, let's get to know you guys. And it was like us two talking right here. This is how it was. Everything was real. Nicole and I were on the same page of everything. And meeting with this doctor, we became so comfortable, and we're like, yes, everything he's saying, yes, 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 yes. And he was more concerned about us than the whole process. So you could tell that there was a doctor that actually cared. And that's when you're like, okay, well, what do you think, doc? What is your thoughts? Now that once you find somebody that you can trust, then, we've recommended him to many friends, and, we may be going to see him in the future. You never know. So
I think you're making an excellent point there, that it's not only about advocacy of what you want, it's also advocating and having the courage to go to different clinics, go to get different opinions, because you went and had a surgery on your man parts.
Yeah.
And you have some other expert telling you it was a waste of time. So that would definitely like, you know, that could have thrown you off, but like you guys had the courage to get another opinion and hold out for somebody that could support you.
And actually, after the third failed IVF, that doctor says, "Oh, you know what? Just come back in, and you know, we'll try again." And we said, "No, we're not." And we got 3 other opinions after that. Met with 3 other doctors, and then finally it was the 4th doctor that we just said, "Wow, where have you been?"
Matt, it is so exciting for me to hear this, because you wouldn't believe how many people would never see 4 different doctors. People would say, "Oh, I've talked to 2 and that's it." And it's like, no, you've got to find people out there in the world that are willing to see your view of it. Because I mean, look, Matt, as a grown ass man who has been through what he's been through, you've probably figured out that you have just as much of a chance of being right as anybody else.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess that's sad without,
like,
especially not having a doctorate, you know, I feel like we did all right.
So let's get into that cycle, because you guys had quite a different result with that cycle. So tell us about it.
So the doctor that we went through with the 3 failed IVF cycles, he was old school. He says, "I'm the guy. My partner was the guy that developed IVF." And I said, "Oh, okay. You know, probably right after World War II, I guess." So this guy still did it the old way. Still, like when they developed it right after NOM, this is how they were still doing it. And we didn't realize how off he was until after we left. So he basically took the catheter where the embryo was going up, took a measurement, made a line, got a tape measure, made a line, said, "All right, it's got to go in to that mark, put the embryo in, and guess what? You guys are pregnant." Oh, okay. That's how it works. Well, after we left that facility, went and got other opinions, the first thing they asked, "Well, did you guys do ultrasound guided fertilization?" We said, "What is that?" They said, "Did they use an ultrasound machine to guide it in?" We said, "No." Then, "Well, how do you know it went in?" Okay. So we saw with our child that the doctor we went with, I actually filmed the ultrasound machine, and he actually said, you come in with a full bladder, and that way we could see where everything's at. We could stick the catheter in. I could see the placement of it. Well, the catheter started doing a U-turn, so she said, "Okay, go out to the bathroom, go pee a little bit for about 10 seconds, cut it off, and come back in." She goes, "I know that's going to be difficult, but come back in." So we did that, and you could see the catheter go in, and then and I was filming the ultrasound machine, and you could see this little white speck. Boop. And he goes, "That was the embryo right there going in." So we saw the embryo going in at that point, and we are convinced that the embryo never made it to where it needed to go those first 3 tries, because the catheter just kind of did a little U-turn. So very frustrating to learn all this stuff after the fact. And the clinic we were at, they were just kind of had a couple screws loose. When you find a doctor that you like, stick with them. But the biggest thing is somebody you're comfortable with. You know, a lot of these people come in there and they just do my way, and you're going to be pregnant. Oh, just don't worry, just do it my way. And then, "Can I ask a question?" And then they're already out the door, and you're looking.
Wow.
You know,
it's fascinating how well, and it's also kind of exciting in a way, because I agree with you. COVID changed everything.
Yes.
And I think for people that are awake, they realize that in order for you to make sure you're getting the best care, you have to be an advocate. You have to be courageous and be willing to buck the system a little bit. And so you, at this new clinic. I love that you filmed it. You know what? When your son is old enough, you're gonna be like, "Hey, boy, you're right there, right?"
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, at his graduation, you'll be like, "This is you," But yeah. So
his future wife. I'm going to show that at his wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my husband and I are saving all kinds of stuff for when Asher gets
nice.
married. It must have been just an extraordinary thing when you guys find out that you're pregnant. So I would love it if you would share a little bit about that, because
wow,
as a dad, like with your boy, like he's 2 now, but like, what was it like for you to be in that place where you find out that you guys are pregnant?
Wow, we were on a walk and we were supposed to find out sometime that day, and we were on a walk and she gets a phone call from an unknown number and puts it on speakerphone, and she's like, I don't know who this is. So she just picks it, hello, and the doctor just yells, "You're pregnant!" And we were just both like just ecstatic, like crying, super she was screaming and like happy, and then he couldn't get another word in, just like she was just like, oh my God, oh my God. So, I mean, the feeling there is just came over you and just like, wow, all this hard work now. And we got finally the first positive pregnancy test. We've never had a positive pregnancy test. So, but then the feeling that came through my head was, okay, we made the first hurdle. Now what? Cause so now it's like, we got there. We made the first step. What's the next step now? Because we've never been this far. So, I don't know, the shots, like now what? She was scared, deathly scared of shots. But man, you see her overcome that. Just here, give it every morning before I went to work. While she was in bed, just give her shots. And she was a trooper about it.
Oh.
But it was, now what? Now what's next? And then it was just the next 12 weeks of shots, and just, the first couple weeks after the embryo transfer, everybody, you're just like on pins and needles. And then it's another 12 weeks of being on pins and needles until we saw, you saw the heartbeat, you saw everything else. And then we made it from his care over to the OB. And then you kind of felt a little out of the woods, but it's still, because we've never made it that far, and it was still pins and needles the whole, for me at least, the whole way. I was at every doctor's appointment. I didn't care about work. It was just, we made it to everything. And I think there was one appointment where I showed up late or something, and I felt so bad because, people always look at me like, why are you going? Like, you don't need to go to those appointments. It's like, if you guys went through the journey that we went through to get here, you would understand. You guys would be doing this.
Oh,
so
100%.
It's so hard talking to other people that have never been through anything like this to really understand it. Like, I think only people that have gone through this process will really understand like how tough and what it means to them when they get the outcome.
And I have so much respect for you, Daddy-O, because like it is a big deal. And I think that part of I watch my husband as a fantastic dad too, but like, I think normalizing men being as all in as we are as women is such a fantastic thing. Like, and it's also like, you deserve having that moment because you were willing to do what it takes to get to that place. Like, no excuses. Like, there's a theme that is coming out amongst all of the guys that are appearing on the podcast. These are like down ass mofos, right? Like, they are just down, right? They want it as badly as their woman does.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a difference. What do you think?
Yeah. Like, I didn't care. Like, whatever we got to do. I mean, I had back surgery 2 weeks before he was born, and I was in a back brace, and they gave my own hospital bed to stay in the hospital. So like, I was still changing diapers, and we do what we got to do.
Oh,
like, there's no, just because I had a little something, she's got a little something too. So like, we gotta, and I get it, we're going to have help, but at the end of the day, this is my child. This is our child. We have to be the first people to get there and, dig in and help.
Well, what was it like, Matt? I have to ask, like, when you held your boy for the first time, like, What was it?
Oh gosh. Well, I always joke with her that I'm still trying to figure out if he's our kid because the birth process, it was so she had a C-section because he was breached, and we go into the hospital. They said, all right, we're going to be in there at 7 a.m., 7 a.m. We'll take you back there. So, all right, we wheel her back there. Matt, you gown up. Okay, just wait right here. We'll call you when she's ready. So I said, okay. I'm sitting there, nervous, and nervous as heck because this never done this before. And the door opens. They call me in. All right, come on in, Matt. Come on in. And I walk in, and my dumbass says, oh, shit, I'm late to the party. Always the last person to the party. And then the doctor right away says, get out. What? Said, he's got to go now. And I look down the table, and my wife is shaking. And she's doing it like a dead fish, like a fish shaking on the table. Well, I didn't know what was going on. So they kicked me out of the room, and nobody would tell me what's going on. I thought, I'm like, wow, is I being an asshole or something? And finally, what felt like a half hour later, a doctor come out. It was probably a couple minutes, and a doctor came out and said, hey, we're sorry about that. She felt the incision, so the epidural wasn't working. So we had to put her under general anesthesia, and there's no visitors. So we needed you to leave. So they called me in after the baby was already brought out and cleaned up and everything. What felt like 2 hours later, but it was probably 20 minutes later. So when I came in, she was just starting to wake up. So that's why I always kind of joke, like, is he ours? I didn't really see him come out of there. But when you see his personality.
Oh, he's definitely, he's got.
Oh, God.
Like, yeah.
Oh, he's mine.
Oh,
so
man.
Holding him for the first time, and it's just the thought is like, whoa, that's mine. Like, wow. Oh my gosh, what just happened here? Like, shit just got real.
Wow. Being 2 years later.
Yeah.
Like, is it what you would thought it would be?
Oh, when people would say, like, my brother's got 2 girls, my sister's got 3 girls, and the energy level, I didn't realize the energy level of boys. So
he sounds like he's all boy.
Oh my gosh. When my nieces would come over and they would play with them, and I'd look at my sister and I say, was he like that? Or were the girls like that? And then I'd say it to my brother, and they're like, oh yeah. And then my dad would look at me and goes, no, he's got way more energy. But when people tell you, enjoy your sleep and stuff, it's been tough. I mean, it's gotten better over the last couple months, but once you get over that, it's, you don't have any more time for yourself. I feel like, just because with work, I come home from work and it's sad that I have 2 hours with him, 2.5 hours, and then it's bedtime. So, you try to soak up as much as you can, but like his smile alone, like when you see that smile, it just, last weekend he came running and crawled on my bed with just big old smile and jumped on me. And it's like, oh, that's why we do it. That's why we do it right there.
Oh, man. Oh my goodness, Matt, thank you so much for sharing so generously with everybody here, because I think exactly, what you're sharing is what people need to hear, is that when you get tired on this journey, keep going. There's a reason why you're doing this. There's a reason why you're going through the things that you're going through. And there was probably a time in at the darkest points in your journey where you wondered if that would ever be the case.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. After every time you would hear that phone call and from the doctor saying, I'm sorry, it didn't work out. And then we don't have an answer why. Every time we would hear that, it was just, is this ever going to happen? Is this ever going to happen? So that exactly what you said right there, it happened to us many times. Wow. And it just, but you have no choice. Like if you have a goal, start grinding, do whatever you got to do to get there. If you want to buy that car, you want to buy that house, if you want that baby, do whatever you got to do to get there. Don't let anybody step in your way, and just, if they get in your way, push them over, push them aside. Get out of here. Get out of my life. I don't need you.
Well, but that is exactly why you guys are where you are today. You know, you have amazing Nicole as your wife, who got clear AF about what she wanted and where she was headed. She developed the mindset of somebody that doesn't quit for shit.
Yep.
She learned to think in a different way. That influences you. You guys become like this incredible team at a time when a lot of people are pulling apart. Yeah. You guys come together. You get stronger. You have the courage to go get multiple opinions and not give two shits about what anyone else might think about it. And you insist upon excellence, and look at you where you are today. Your dad.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
Wow. Well,
Love
thank you so much, Matt. And please,
you're welcome.
Hug your boy and hug Nicole for me. And
will do.
Tell them how much I love them. And I'm so grateful for your generosity here. I know that the listeners are just going to eat this up and really dig the Matt wisdom.
Thank you. You got to realize you're not alone. And people are just so scared to talk about it. But you need to get out there and talk to people about it, because it's more frequent than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Matt. We love you.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Hey, loves, wasn't my conversation with Matt absolutely inspiring? I love it when a man has the kind of courage, direction, and leadership in him to really keep saying yes to the dream, regardless of what was going on, and to have the courage to be influenced by his amazing wife, Nicole. Nicole did the work. She started thinking, believing, and taking action like a woman who succeeds. And that's exactly what these two did. You know, ladies, it isn't just about the diets, the lotions, the potions. You have to come to this journey thinking like a woman who succeeds. And that's exactly what Nicole had the courage to do. And all of that work she was putting in rubbed off on Matt, and they're holding their baby boy today. So if you want me to teach you what I taught Matt's beautiful wife, Nicole, go to www.frommaybe2baby.com and apply for an interview there. This is life-changing. This is all about aligning your mind and your body so that you can create an entirely different result. This isn't tree-hugging woo-woo nonsense. This is strategy. This is mind-body recalibration that is going to give you the piece of the fertility puzzle that way too many people miss. So don't do that. You want to hold the baby, right? You got to do things differently, because if it just came down to fertility medicine, boom, baby. But that's not the case. Your mind is going to take you beyond the limits of fertility medicine. Let us help you. Go to www.frommaybe2baby.com. Until next time, change your mindset, change your results. Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.